You won't believe the transformation my RV went through, and I did it all on a budget. Hey there, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com. Now that my camper is completely renovated, I wanted to share with you exactly how I did the renovation from the very beginning to the very end, step by step, on a budget. I did this over the course of about 2 years here and there, but you're gonna see every single thing from start to finish in today's video. So if you're considering renovating your camper, you want all the tips, all the tricks, all of my recommendations on what works and what doesn't, you're gonna wanna watch this video. Let's get started. We found this RV in 2020 on Facebook Marketplace. It's a 2007 30-foot Jayco fifth wheel. It was in pretty good condition. There was a couple things that were wrong with one of the wheel wells. The interior was okay, but it was definitely dated. So that's my first tip. Definitely look at Facebook Marketplace for really good deals on RVs. I'm lucky because I have a general contractor / mechanic husband, so he was able to check it out to make sure that everything that was important in the RV was in good condition. Definitely have someone who knows their stuff check out your RV before you purchase it. Similar new RVs with this length, the fifth wheel style, can go for like $30,000, $40,000, $60,000, and we got ours for $10,000. We were really excited about this particular RV because it was bigger than our previous one, which we bought for $1,000 off of Facebook Marketplace. It was a little bit newer. However, I just love decorating. I love DIYing, so I wanted to completely make over the interior to make it feel a little bit more like home and add some brightness and warmth into the space. I did almost every single thing myself. My husband Sean helped with a couple things. He's an electrician, so he was able to add in some new light fixtures, helped me with one of the faucets, but everything else I did all by myself. So if I can do this, you can do it too. I did this renovation in 3 stages. So the first stage, I did the main room in the camper. Second stage, I did the girls' bunk room in the back. And then for the final and third stage that I completed this spring, I renovated the main bedroom and the bathroom in the RV. So to begin, I completely ripped out almost everything in the interior of the RV. I ripped out most of the carpeting. I took off the vinyl wallpaper border, and then I actually ended up taking out the dinette and the couch as well. However, if you want to save a bit more money on the furniture, you'll see in the end that I did spend more than I wanted to on the furniture. You could leave the old dinette and the old couch in. I do have tutorials from my previous camper on how to recover the cushions on the dinette and do a slip cover for the sofa, so that's definitely a more budget-friendly option if you don't want to completely switch out the furniture. I also removed all of the doors off of the cabinetry because that's an essential step when you're painting cabinetry. You want to paint the doors and the frame separate. After removing everything, I just gave the whole RV a really good clean, used a degreasing cleaner. I like something like Rust-Oleum Crud Cutter, just make sure to get all that dust, all the dirt, all the grease off the walls and everywhere, and then I was ready to go. In my experience, it works perfectly fine to paint RV walls with a regular latex paint. I'm using a paint and primer in one. This one is by Behr. And I just, after cleaning the walls and the ceiling, I use this directly on the walls and ceiling. For me, for my last couple camper renovations, this seemed to work well. There's been no scratching, anything like that. If you're nervous, if you're concerned, just do a primer coat before the paint. The color that I used throughout the entire RV for the ceiling and the walls is called Whisper White. One of my absolute favorite whites. This one is by Behr. I feel like it's a nice, almost true white with a little bit of warmth in it, which I think is perfect for the camper. In this main room, I did brush and roll, but then you'll see later in this video, I decided to use a paint sprayer for the other area of the camper. That does go faster, but then there's more prep involved where you have to mask off things. So kind of use your own judgment whether you want to do a sprayer where you're masking off and doing more prep, or you want to roll and use a paintbrush. Why did I choose white? I know not everybody likes white. That's okay. Use a different color if you love a different color. I chose to use white in the majority of my camper because I wanted the camper to feel more open. And white's a really great color for that. It's instantly going to make a space feel so much larger. It bounces the sunshine around the space and makes it feel brighter and more cheerful. For the coffee bar area, I decided to remove some of the cabinetry. I know some of you don't like that, but in this camper, there just wasn't very much counter space at all. So I wanted to add more counter space by removing some of the storage from this entertainment unit area and creating a little coffee kind of drinks bar with a counter height spot. And then I painted that just like the rest of the kitchen to make it all blend in. To paint the cabinetry in the camper, so not only the kitchen cabinetry, but all of the cabinetry in the whole camper, I cleaned the cabinets first after I removed the doors, and then I sanded everything. So there's two ways that you can sand, and in my experience, for camper cabinets, both of these work perfectly well. So you can just use a regular power sander, just scuff sand, so you want to roughen up that surface a little bit, or you can do what I like to call liquid sanding. So that's using a product that takes that glossiness away from the cabinet. So I'm using Rust-Oleum Gloss Off, and I just wiped it onto the cabinetry, let it dry before I did the priming and painting. So after sanding or liquid sanding, I'm using a primer. So this one is also by Behr, and this one's especially made for cabinetry, trim work, and that kind of thing. Really sticky. This is an essential step. This is what's gonna help your paint stay on in the final stage. I'm just using a brush and a foam roller to get that look that I want. You could also use a sprayer if you want as well. After the primer was completely dry, I took this cabinet and trim enamel and used a brush and foam roller and painted all of the cabinetry with this. So the color that I'm using for the lower part of my cabinetry is called River Mist. It's a very, very soft green. In retrospect, I wish I would have used a little bit more of an obvious green. This one almost looks white, but I still love it. And then I'm painting the upper cabinetry in Behr Whisper White. The important thing that I found about painting cabinetry is definitely make sure that you let the primer dry properly before you do the paint, and then with every coat of paint, wait the hours that the paint can says before you do the next coat. After everything is completely dry and ready to go, I put on the hardware. So what I did with the hardware in this main room is I had just found some oil rubbed bronze hardware, didn't like it, so I sprayed it with a gold spray paint. I also spray painted the faucet in the kitchen, and that's actually held up really well too. Just make sure to wipe and degrease anything that you spray paint so that it holds up well. So now once the whole space was painted, the cabinets were painted, put back together, I added peel and stick tile to the wall. And I put this in the kitchen, and I also use this in the bathroom and the coffee nook in the camper too. I like this peel and stick tile. It's held up really well for me. And this one was from Amazon. I will make sure to link it down in that description box below. For the countertop in the kitchen, I used some peel and stick contact paper that looks like marble, and I just applied that right over the old counters. Still, it's holding up really well, and I love this look. Easy to take off if I ever want to take it off, and I just caulked around all of the seams to make it nice and seamless. I also applied this peel and stick contact paper to that little coffee bar area too, added a floating shelf with some Amazon shelf brackets and a piece of wood. We also added a TV mount here. Lots of you ask how I mount curtain rods, TV mount, etc. I just use wood screws. I just make sure they're the same size as the previous wood screws that were used in the camper for the old window coverings, etc. For the flooring, I did remove most of the carpet, and then I used a luxury vinyl plank. This one I got at Costco. It's no longer available, but they do have similar ones there, so I will link those down in the description box below. What I did, and I know this isn't conventional, but it seriously worked for me, is I used PL construction glue on the back of the luxury vinyl plank and I installed it that way. I just used a craft knife and a ruler to cut everything as I went. And this has lasted 3 winters so far in this RV. I did exactly the same sort of install in our previous RV, lasted 4 years in there before we sold it. So I know that through the fluctuations of temperature here in Alberta, Canada, we get, you know, -30 in the winter, +30 in the summer. So it lasts really well using the PL construction glue. And how I dealt with the slide part was I put floor on the slide and the main flooring separately, and then I used some reducer trim from the Home Depot and put that on the edge of my slide, and I've had no issues so far. So instantly with the new flooring and all the paint, this looks completely different. I did swap out some of the light fixtures just with some Amazon ones, kind of industrial looking ones. And then I did a fun DIY with the 2 light fixtures in the main area. I removed the old glass part of the light fixtures there, and then I cut out a little piece, a little circular piece with my Cricut machine, did a little beaded accent, and kind of made them into boho inspired fixtures. And they're still one of my favorite DIYs in this space. For furniture, I used a round IKEA table in here, and I used this futon sofa from Structube. Both of them were relatively inexpensive, a couple $100s each, and you can flip down the sofa to use it as an extra bed. Lots of you ask how we keep these from sliding around in the space. So once we pull the slide in the RV, they're kind of tucked inside the RV as we travel along. And don't forget, this is a 5th wheel, so there's nobody in the RV ever when we're traveling. So everything is nice and safe. The next area I did was the bunk room. This one I did in a similar way with the walls and ceiling, where I used the Behr Scuff Defense paint to paint the walls and ceiling after cleaning. But I did go ahead and use a chalk style paint for the cabinetry. I just cleaned it, didn't do any other prep or primer, just used the chalk style paint. I had it on hand, I love the pink color. Turned out pretty well. I was pretty happy with the coverage. However, I wouldn't recommend using a chalk style paint in an RV renovation. It's a little bit harder to clean. I do have to scrub at it. Plus I didn't get that nice smooth finish that I could get with the latex paint. And then in here, I also added some new hardware. I took out a little bit of storage from that cupboard area and just made it into almost more of a vanity area for my 3 daughters. Added some decals to the wall. I had these beautiful peony decals, and I feel like they really tied in all the pinks. I kept the original green curtains, and that kind of tied those in as well. I also DIY'd a ladder. I got most of it from Amazon and just swapped out the rope, added some fun bedding, and this room was all done. The final space I tackled was the main bedroom and the bathroom combo. So same thing, I used exactly the same method and paint to paint the wall and the ceilings and the cabinetry. And then in here I decided to go for a darker, cozier color of cabinetry and back wall. I used a paint color called Black Evergreen. This one's highly debated on YouTube Shorts and Reels. I love it, Sean loves it, that's all that matters. Hopefully some of you love it. I feel like the white walls bounce the light around enough that this dark area gives that cozy feeling, but the combo still makes the whole room feel more open than it was. I did remove that little inset part at the back of the bed, and then I put some beadboard paneling over top of that. I just used some more PL construction glue and my brad nailer for that. We also swapped out the light fixtures in here to give it more of a modern look, as well as the handles in here too. For window treatments, I just like to use cafe rods from Home Depot. They're nice and thin, nice and lightweight. And then I'm just using some IKEA white curtains, hemming them and putting those on there. They're nice and light filtering. If you want more of a blackout effect in your RV, in your camper, you could do the same treatment, but just add some blackout blinds or blackout shades behind those curtains. For the bathroom, I painted it again with the Whisper White color, added the new flooring in there. That made a huge difference. Added some hooks on the wall for storage, and then I swapped out the curtain rod and added a new shower curtain. Those really simple fixes just made this small space feel more open and feel more modern. And then for the little sink area that's outside that toilet room, painted it in that black evergreen. We swapped out for a new faucet, and that was totally refreshed as well. There's also a closet in this area, and I just painted it like the rest of the cabinets in the camper in the Whisper White color. Made a huge difference, and I feel like it completely opened up this hallway space and makes it feel so much bigger. So let's talk about the cost of this renovation. So like I mentioned, the camper itself, it's a 2007. We got it used, a little bit damaged, was $10,000 Canadian. When I calculated how much I spent on all of the materials and supplies for the renovation, so I'm talking about furniture, I'm talking about the peel and stick tile, I am adding the paint in there. The paint was sponsored and gifted to me from Behr. We worked on a little sponsored campaign together, but I am adding the value of the paint in there as well. It was under $2,000 Canadian, so right around $1,800. I think that's pretty good for a camper that looks brand new, feels brand new. If you add those two together, it was still less than $12,000. Again, a comparable one, if you were to buy it new, could be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm happy with that price. Around $600 of that $1,800 was in furniture. So again, if you want to lower the cost of a similar renovation, you can recover, reupholster the furniture that's already in your camper. Just make sure that foam is in nice shape. You can even steam clean it if you want. And I will leave the tutorials for those down in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing our RV renovation from start to finish. I am so happy with it. Our family loves it. We've used our RV dozens of times to go camping. We took it on a giant road trip, and it was so much fun. It was such a fun project to work on, and I love that I was able to do most of it myself and that I was able to share it here with you. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the renovation. If you like DIY and decor ideas on a budget, I'm gonna leave some more videos that you can watch next right up here.